Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something powerful today. How many moments have you waited for the right time? How many dreams have you placed on hold saying, I'll start when things are perfect? We all do it. We wait for the stars to align, the fear to fade, the timing to feel just right. But here's the truth, there is no perfect moment. Perfection is an illusion that keeps you stuck where you are. It's your mind's clever way of protecting you from failure, from risk, from growth. But life doesn't wait. The clock doesn't stop ticking while you hesitate. Every second you wait for someday, you lose a piece of today. What separates the dreamers from the doers is not timing, it's decision. The moment you decide to move forward, despite fear, despite uncertainty, despite imperfection, that's when transformation begins. So today, I challenge you, stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for the perfect plan, and stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is not coming because you create it by taking action now. Because when you move, when you commit, when you take that first imperfect step, that's when life starts moving with you. This is your time. This is your moment. Let's make it count. Perfection is one of the most seductive lies we tell ourselves. It whispers that we'll take action when everything looks right, when we have all the answers, when we feel fully ready. But the truth is that moment never comes. The pursuit of perfection becomes the very thing that chains us to hesitation. It convinces us that we're not enough yet, not skilled enough, not prepared enough, not worthy enough to begin. And while we wait for everything to align, life passes by. Opportunities slip through our fingers not because we weren't capable, but because we were too focused on trying to make everything flawless before we started. Perfection is the enemy of progress because progress is messy. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens in the moments of uncertainty, in the steps that feel clumsy, in the times when you fall and get back up again. Think about any great success story. None of them started perfect. The most successful people didn't wait until they were experts. They learned by doing. Every imperfect action they took became a stepping stone toward mastery. The person who keeps moving forward despite imperfection always surpasses the one waiting endlessly for things to be perfect. The idea of perfection is rooted in fear. It's fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being seen as less than. But perfectionism doesn't protect you from failure. It guarantees it because it keeps you from even trying. You can't win a race you never start. You can't grow from experiences you never have. Perfection steals your momentum before it ever begins. The need to have everything figured out becomes a form of procrastination dressed in respectability. You tell yourself you're just planning, just preparing, just waiting for the right time. But what you're really doing is avoiding the discomfort of uncertainty. The irony is that perfection doesn't even exist. What you think is perfect today will look different tomorrow because your standards will change. You'll evolve, and what once seemed ideal will no longer be enough. So if perfection keeps shifting, why chase something that can never be caught? Instead, chase progress, chase growth, chase momentum. Every small move forward, every imperfect effort brings you closer to the life you want. The greatest breakthroughs come not from perfect plans, but from imperfect execution done with full commitment. When you take that step, even if it's small, even if it's messy, you create movement, and movement is power. It builds confidence, it builds clarity, and it builds resilience. Progress gives you feedback, and feedback is how you learn. But perfectionism blocks that learning because it keeps you stuck in theory instead of action. You can plan your dream forever, or you can start building it today, brick by brick, mistake by mistake, until it becomes real. Think about it this way, progress means growth, and growth means change. But perfection seeks control, and control resists change. So perfection and progress can't coexist. You must choose one. You can choose to stay safe, waiting for that impossible perfect condition, or you can choose to take imperfect action and evolve. Every time you act despite imperfection, you expand your capacity. You become stronger, smarter, and more confident. In life, no masterpiece starts perfect. The painter begins with rough strokes, the writer with messy drafts, the speaker with nervous words. But over time, through action, through repetition, through mistakes, they refine their art. That's how greatness is built. You don't find perfection before progress. You find it through progress. So stop waiting for everything to be just right. Start where you are with what you have and do what you can. Your effort doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real, because perfection isn't what creates success. Progress does. Every imperfect step forward is still a victory, and those steps are what transform dreams into reality. Action creates clarity, not waiting. Too many people spend their lives overthinking, planning, and analyzing every possible outcome before taking a single step. They believe if they wait long enough, if the perfect path will reveal itself. But clarity doesn't come from standing still. It comes from movement. You can't steer a parked car. You have to get in, start the engine, and begin driving. The direction becomes clearer only once you're in motion. Waiting for absolute certainty before acting is like expecting to see the entire map before taking the first step. It's impossible. Life doesn't work that way. The map unfolds as you move forward. When you take action, even imperfect action, something powerful happens. You start to learn. Every action gives you feedback. You get to see what works and what doesn't. That feedback gives you insight, and that insight creates clarity. Suddenly, what once felt confusing becomes simpler because now you're no longer guessing. You're experiencing. The more you move, the more you see, and the more you see, the more you understand. Waiting, on the other hand, keeps you trapped in your head. It feeds doubt and fear because the mind, left alone, magnifies uncertainty. Action breaks that cycle. Clarity is not a gift you wait for. It's a reward you earn through doing. You can't think your way into confidence. You act your way into it. When you take the first step, you shift from thinking to doing, from fear to focus. You begin to realize that most of the obstacles you imagined weren't real. They were just stories your mind created to keep you safe. Once you're in motion, those stories lose their power and your inner strength starts to rise. Every decision you make in action strengthens your sense of purpose and direction. Think of how a sculptor works. They don't wait to have a perfect vision of the statue before touching the stone. They start carving, chipping away, discovering the form within the process. Through each strike of the hammer, the sculpture reveals itself. That's how clarity works. You start with an idea, and as you act, you refine it. You don't need to see the entire picture to begin. You just need to take the first swing. People who wait for clarity often confuse inaction with preparation. They tell themselves they're waiting for a sign, more knowledge, or the right time, but what they're really doing is protecting themselves from discomfort. The truth is, clarity doesn't come before courage. It comes after. You must first be willing to act in uncertainty. You must trust yourself enough to move before you fully know how. It's in that leap that your direction begins to appear. Every great achievement begins with a step into the unknown. When Steve Jobs started Apple, he didn't have every detail figured out. When Oprah Winfrey built her media empire, she didn't know every answer. They moved forward with a vision and a willingness to learn along the way. Action made their path clear. Had they waited for complete certainty, they would still be waiting today. The beautiful thing about taking action is that it simplifies everything. When you act, you stop overcomplicating your thoughts. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what can I do next? You gain momentum, and momentum is clarity in motion. Each small win builds confidence, and confidence builds clearer vision. So many people are waiting for motivation to strike before taking action, but motivation isn't the fuel. It's the result. You don't get motivated and then act. You act and then feel motivated because you're seeing progress. You create your own energy through movement. And when you keep moving, the fog that once clouded your vision begins to lift. You start to see what's possible, what's needed, and what's next. So stop waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect certainty. Start moving even if it's messy, even if it's small, because clarity lives on the other side of action. The more you do, the more you know, and the more you know, the more confident you become. Waiting creates doubt. Action creates direction. And once you begin to act, you realize that the answers you were searching for were waiting for you to begin. A fear disguises itself as preparation. It's one of the most clever and convincing tricks your mind can play on you. You tell yourself you're not afraid. You're just getting ready, just doing a little more research, just waiting for the right timing. You convince yourself that you're being smart, strategic, patient. But deep down, what's really happening is that fear has taken the driver's seat, and it's pretending to be logic. Fear knows that if it can make you believe you're simply preparing, it can keep you stuck forever. Because preparation feels safe, it gives the illusion of progress without the risk of failure. But in reality, too much preparation without action is just procrastination wearing a mask. Fear is not the enemy. It's a signal. It tells you that you're about to step into something that matters. But instead of listening to that signal and moving forward, most people let it paralyze them. They tell themselves they'll start once they know enough, once they feel ready, once every doubt is gone. Yet readiness is not a feeling that comes before action. It's a state you develop through action. You become ready by doing, by stepping into uncertainty and realizing you can handle it. The truth is, no amount of preparation will ever remove fear completely, because fear lives in the unknown, and growth always requires entering the unknown. The moment you decide to move towards something that challenges you, fear will show up. It will whisper reasons to wait, excuses to delay, and doubts that sound reasonable. It will tell you that you need more experience, that now isn't the time, that you should wait for better conditions. And if you listen long enough, you'll believe it. You'll spend days, months, even years preparing for a moment that never comes. That's how fear wins, not by stopping you with force, but by convincing you that waiting is wisdom. Preparation is important, but it should have a purpose, to support action, not to replace it. There's a point where learning more stops helping you and starts holding you back. You don't need every detail figured out before you begin. You need direction, courage, and a willingness to learn along the way. Every successful person you've ever admired started before they were fully ready. They learned, adjusted, and grew through experience. Action gives you real knowledge, while endless preparation gives you theoretical comfort. Fear also hides behind perfectionism. You tell yourself you're just trying to get it right, but what you're really doing is avoiding the possibility of getting it wrong. The irony is that progress requires mistakes. Every mistake is feedback, a lesson that makes you stronger and wiser. But if you let fear stop you from ever trying, you rob yourself of those lessons. You stay stuck in the illusion of safety, when in reality, stagnation is far more dangerous than failure. Think of how children learn to walk. They don't study the mechanics of balance or analyze every step. They simply try. They fall, they wobble, they get up again. And with each attempt, they learn. That's how humans grow, through trial, through error, through movement. But somewhere along the way, we start believing that failure is bad, that it means we're not good enough. And that belief feeds fear. If you want to break free from that cycle, you must face fear head on and call it what it is. Don't let it hide behind excuses or overthinking. When you catch yourself saying, I'm just not ready yet, pause and ask, is that really true, or is that fear talking? Because most of the time, you're more ready than you think. You don't need certainty to start, you need commitment. Fear will always try to disguise itself as preparation, but courage unmasks it. The moment you take action despite fear, you take back control. You prove to yourself that you don't need to feel fearless to move forward. You just need to decide that your dreams are worth more than your doubts. So stop waiting for the day when you're no longer afraid. That day doesn't come. Instead, move forward while fear walks beside you, and you'll realize something powerful. It was never about eliminating fear. It was about refusing to let it make your decisions. Small steps beat perfect intentions. Everyone dreams of doing something great, building a business, changing their life, pursuing a passion, becoming the best version of themselves. But too often those dreams remain just that, dreams. Why? Because people wait for the perfect time to make a grand move, for the stars to align, for one big breakthrough that will change everything overnight. They live with big intentions but take little to no action. The trueness is never built through one giant leap. It's built through consistent, small steps taken every single day. Those small steps may seem insignificant at first, but over time, they compound into massive change. Intentions feel good because they give you the illusion of progress. You say you'll start tomorrow, and for a brief moment, it feels like you've already achieved something. You promise yourself you'll begin when things calm down, when you have more money, when you feel more motivated. But intention without action is empty. It's like standing at the edge of the pool, imagining how refreshing the water feels, but never jumping in. The only thing that changes your life is movement, not thought, not talk, not plans, movement. Small steps are powerful because they build momentum. When you take even the tiniest action toward your goal, you activate a part of yourself that starts to believe again. You send your mind and body a signal, we're doing this. That signal builds confidence, and confidence fuels the next step. Before you know it, those small efforts begin to form habits, and habits shape your destiny. You don't need to do everything today. You just need to do something today. The secret is consistency, not intensity. Think about how nature works. A tree doesn't grow to its full height in one season. It grows little by little, year after year, adding a ring to its trunk each time. You can't see the growth happening daily, but it's there, steady and unstoppable. The same applies to your life. Every small action adds up. Reading one page a day becomes a book a year. Walking for 10 minutes a day becomes a healthy habit. Saving a small amount regularly becomes financial freedom. The compound effect of consistent effort is one of the most powerful forces in existence. Yet most people underestimate it because they want instant results. Perfect intentions can paralyze you because they make you focus on the end goal instead of the next step. You imagine the final picture so vividly that the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels overwhelming. That overwhelm breeds procrastination. You think it's too big, I can't do it yet, and so you do nothing. But if you shift your focus from the mountain to the next step on the trail, everything changes. You don't have to climb the entire mountain today. You just have to take one solid step upward. The beauty of small steps is that they don't require perfection. They only require commitment. You don't need to have all the answers to start. You don't need to feel ready or confident. You just need to move. Every action teaches you something new, and every lesson makes the next step easier. You learn, you adjust, you grow. That's how real progress happens, not in sudden explosions of success, but in quiet moments of persistence when no one's watching. People often underestimate what they can achieve in a year because they overestimate what they can do in a day. They start strong, expect instant results, and when things don't happen fast enough, they quit. But the people who win are the ones who keep going, who keep showing up even when it's slow, even when it's boring, even when it feels like nothing's changing, because while others are waiting for perfection, they're building momentum. So stop chasing the perfect moment to start big. Start small, but start now. Make progress your habit, not perfection your obsession. Every little effort counts. Every step matters. Over time, those small, consistent actions will turn to something extraordinary, because at the end of the day, success doesn't belong to the one with the best intentions. It belongs to the one who keeps taking steps forward, no matter how small they seem. Your breakthrough begins with a decision. Every great transformation in life starts the moment you make a real powerful, no turning back decision. Not a wish, not a hope, not a maybe someday, but a firm commitment that says, this is it, I'm doing this, no matter what. A single decision can change the entire direction of your life. The truth is, most people never reach their potential not because they lack talent, resources, or opportunity, but because they never truly decide. They hesitate, they keep their options open, they leave room for excuses. But indecision is the enemy of progress. When you don't decide, you drift. When you do decide, you create momentum that reshapes everything. A real decision is different from a desire. Everyone wants more happiness, more success, more confidence, but wanting doesn't change anything. Deciding does. The Latin root of the word, decide, means to cut off. That means when you decide, you cut off all other possibilities. You eliminate the backup plan. You stop entertaining failure as an option. You stop waiting for someone else to choose for you. In that instant, your mind, your energy, and your focus align toward a single purpose. That's where breakthroughs begin, when you stop dabbling and start committing. The problem is that many people live in a state of mental negotiation. They keep going back and forth. Should I do this? What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? That back and forth drains energy and builds doubt. But once you make a firm decision, all that noise quiets down. Your brain shifts from hesitation to strategy. It stops asking, can I, and starts asking, how will I? That simple shift in focus is what opens the door to your next level. Every achievement you admire, every leader, every innovator, every world changer began with a defining moment when they decided that enough was enough, that they were done settling, done waiting, done living small. Decisions are the turning points of destiny. One moment of decision can rewrite your story. Think about it. Deciding to start a new habit, to leave a toxic relationship, to pursue a dream, to take responsibility for your life. These are moments that redefine who you are. They're not always easy, and they rarely come with certainty, but they always come with power. The moment you decide, you tap into strength you didn't know you had. You awaken something inside you that refuses to settle for less than what you're capable of. A decision doesn't just change your external circumstances, it changes your internal identity. When you decide to be disciplined, to be courageous, to be unstoppable, you start showing up differently. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop waiting for motivation. You start doing the things you once avoided because now your standard has changed. You've raised your expectations of yourself, and that shift creates a ripple effect across every part of your life. Many people wait for inspiration before making a decision, but that's backward. Inspiration doesn't create decision. Decision creates inspiration. Once you choose a direction and commit to it, your energy expands, creativity ignites, and your confidence grows. You start to attract opportunities that align with your new level of certainty. The universe, life, whatever you want to call it, begins to move with you. But it all starts with that one bold choice. The hardest part is not the journey that follows the decision. It's making the decision itself. Because when you decide, you can't hide anymore. You can't blame circumstances, luck, or timing. You take full ownership. That's what makes it so powerful and so rare. The moment you decide, you take control back from fear. You take control back from doubt. You take control back from the world. So if you're waiting for your breakthrough, stop waiting for the perfect conditions or the perfect plan. Make the decision right now. Decide to stop waiting. Decide to act. Decide to change your story. Because your breakthrough isn't hiding somewhere out in the future. It's waiting inside the decision you've been avoiding. One choice can unlock the life you were meant to live. One moment of courage can set everything in motion. All it takes is for you to say with absolute certainty, this is my time. I decide the right time is the moment you choose to begin. Every person on this planet has dreams buried deep inside them, visions of what life could be if they just started. But most people keep waiting. They tell themselves that one day they'll begin, when things are calmer, when they have more money, more time, more confidence, more support. They wait for the right moment as if life is going to suddenly send them a clear sign that now is the time to move. But here's the truth. There is no perfect time. There is only now. The moment you decide to start, that moment becomes the right one. Because it's not time that makes something right. It's your decision to begin that does. Waiting for the right time is a trap that steals years. It's the mind's way of protecting you from uncertainty. You think you're being smart, but what you're really doing is hesitating. You think you're being patient, but what you're really doing is allowing fear to disguise itself as logic. The problem with waiting is that life never becomes perfectly stable. There will always be challenges, distractions, or doubts. There will always be bills to pay, responsibilities to manage, and reasons to delay. If you're waiting for everything to be lined up before you begin, you'll be waiting forever. The moment you take that first step, something shifts inside you. You stop being a dreamer and become a doer. The act of starting transforms your identity. Suddenly, the energy that was trapped in hesitation begins to move. You start to feel alive again, focused again. It's not because everything magically becomes easier. It's because action creates direction. Once you begin, you can adjust, you can learn, you can grow. But as long as you're waiting, you're standing still and nothing changes. Think about anyone who has ever achieved greatness. None of them started when things were perfect. They began when they had very little knowledge, little confidence, little support. They simply decided to begin anyway. They understood that waiting was a luxury they couldn't afford. They knew that life rewards action, not hesitation. Success doesn't come to the one who waits for the right time. It comes to the one who makes this time right. When you start, you send a powerful message to the universe that you're ready, that you're serious, that you're done waiting for permission. the world begins to respond to that energy. Opportunities start to appear not because they weren't there before, but because now you're finally open to seeing them. Momentum builds, doors open, and confidence grows. But all of that begins with one brave choice, to begin where you are with what you have right now. You don't need a perfect plan to start. You don't need to know every step ahead. You just need to trust that you'll figure it out along the way. Most people overestimate the power of timing and underestimate the power of decision. You can't control when things happen, but you can control when you begin. And the moment you begin, you start shaping your future instead of waiting for it to shape you. The right time isn't on a calendar. It's in your hands. It's the moment you decide to stop letting fear dictate your pace. It's when you realize that the pain of waiting has become greater than the fear of failing. It's when you finally say, enough, I'm ready to move. And in that instant, everything changes because the universe doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to motion. Every great story starts with a moment just like this, a decision made in uncertainty, an action taken in faith. You'll never feel completely ready, and that's okay. You don't need readiness, you need commitment. The courage to begin before you feel prepared is what separates those who talk about change from those who live it. So stop waiting for the right time. There is no perfect season, no flawless setup, no magical alignment. The right time has always been now. The moment you begin, the world begins to move with you. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that the moment you thought was too early was actually the moment that changed everything.